Hey guys, it's B. So I'm here to do a book haul. I have amassed, I've already thought of 2 or 3 that I've forgotten that are in other rooms, but this is all the books I've bought in the last couple of months. I do buy a lot of books. I go through quite a lot of books. I also stockpile books because I want to get something when I hear about it in case I forget and then never get it. But I am quite slow getting through books because I also listen to podcasts, lots of Audible. I have some Kindle things. But I just love books, and I like the thought that my tall bookshelf in my living room is like my own private bookshop. So a lot of the books there I haven't read yet, and it means that when I come to the end of a book and I'm going to go on to read a new book, whether it's fiction or non-fiction, I like the feeling that I've got lots of choices. Some of these kind of books, like these kind of more spiritual books, I've got one pile of, are the kind of thing that I would reread or refer back to. Novels, if I really love a novel, I will kind of hang on to it, and I probably won't reread it completely. I have done that with a few books, but I will make sure that I hand it around friends and stuff if I really want to share it with other people. If I read anything really light and semi-trashy, like if there's a John Grisham, not that it's trash, but you know what I mean, if there's a John Grisham and I know that Ed and I have both read it, we probably donate it, just because we don't have a lot of storage for books. So the books that stay in the collection are things that we want to look at again in the future. Anyway, I digress. I've got 4 categories, like home and lifestyle, personal growth / spiritual stuff, fiction, and then 3 books that I bought for my husband. And the reason I've got those separately is because whenever I talk about books on my Instagram or here on YouTube, which isn't that often, I want to do it more, is that people comment that they don't have time to read, or that they've gotten out of the habit of reading, and they read blogs, or they read online papers or short things, but they find out how to concentrate and get straight back into a novel. So I think I will always try to share things that I think are really accessible, or ways to get back into reading and get yourself back into the habit, because I think once you get the ball rolling, you probably will carry on reading more regularly. Let's dive in. So let's do these kitchen cooking books first. So this one is new. I got this a few weeks ago because it was really discounted at my local supermarket, and it is Mary Berry Quick Cooking. I love all the books. I haven't got all her books because she's got many. And again, I've got cookbook shelves and they are full to bursting. So I try to only keep the ones that I really use. And this one is what it says on the tin, quick cooking. Delicious, easy dishes that will inspire you to cook from scratch no matter how busy you are. And there's some lovely things in here. And I will say about Mary's recipes that the way she writes, explains, the photos, just the vegetable kebabs. Sometimes things are simple and you might think, well, I know how to do that. But she teaches you, how to prepare things ahead of time, and char-grilled asparagus, chocolate aubergine. I don't know, I think things always work out if you follow her guidance. Things don't feel overwhelming. Chicken and asparagus fricassee, quite classic things that you sometimes think, well, I don't know how to make that. And if you learn the recipe of how to do the fricassee, then as you get more confident, you can maybe swap some of the ingredients and stuff. I just feel like her books always work for me, and we like quite classic stuff. And I'm always looking for ideas because I'm the only person who really cooks. So I need a good selection of cookbooks to browse through, because just to re-enthuse me sometimes. I don't have like a standard repertoire of recipes that I make. I'm always looking to try something new. I get bored of cooking the same thing over and over again. So I love cookbooks. And as I said, every time I cook from Mary Berry, it works out and the ingredients seem to behave like she said they would. Whereas there are some other writers, like bless him, Nigel Slater, Gordon Ramsay, sometimes they're kind of assuming that you know what you're doing, maybe a bit more than, and things just don't turn out exactly like the picture, and you're like, what have I done wrong? Anyway, Nadiya Hussain, I love her. She won Bake Off and she's gone from strength to strength since that time and has an amazing career. This Time to Eat is, again, delicious meals for busy lives. I looked through this, I've got a couple of other books, and there were just really unusual things in there that I was just like, some of it I'm a bit like, oh, I don't know. Grapefruit tiramisu, lots of different biscuit things. Instant like chocolate hazelnut mousse that just means it's got whippy cream, corn flour, Nutella that you can whip up really quickly after school as a kiddie's kind of pudding. how to make certain kinds of pastry, curries, poutine. Isn't that Canadian thing where you have like the cheese curds and gravy on chips? I'm not sure about that. Peri drumsticks, just things, I just need ideas. Because I just run out of ideas because I'm the only one that really cooks. Look at that, teriyaki salmon with mango salsa. That looks good. So yeah, I like a new cookbook. If they're discounted like those were, I grab them. This is a rough guide book, Have a Happy Weekend. It's basically 52 European weekend destinations. So they're saying it's a weekend away for every week for a year. And I just like the fact that it was loads of different places in one book, and that the size of it meant that it was kind of a coffee book, coffee table book, nice for browsing. South Tyrol, Munich. So you just get a few Corsica, few pages, but it means that if you're starting to plan little breaks and stuff, it's a good sort of jumping off place. And it was really discounted, and I just thought, grab it. Bit of inspiration. And then the last hardback one is this Oprah title, Food, Health and Happiness. 115 recipes for great meals and a better life. So she has moved from diet to kind of wellness and nutrition. And that if you have a healthy, varied diet, rather than any hard and fast rules, you will probably lose weight and be healthy. This is not a diet plan. So they're healthy recipes is how she categorises them. But I love her. I'm a massive fan. You know that I bang on about her all the time. But she also has like a ranch or a farm. And she just talks about how if you are in the process of like loving and caring for yourself properly, you want to nourish your body, and that is an ongoing process. So I just made this quinoa salad. It's just nice, and the photos are really lovely. And I'm just, as I said before, I'm just always looking for, that looks nice. I'm always looking for pasta primavera, something my kids like, just lots of light vegetables and pasta. So just looking for ideas. Let's get on to the sort of well-being, spirituality kind of stuff. So I've been meaning to get this for ages, and then I was listening to the Oprah Super Soul Conversations podcast, and she was interviewing Edith, Dr. Edith Eger. So this is The Choice. So this is a young girl who was sent to Auschwitz in the Second World War. She was a dancer. You know, she survived the Holocaust and all its horrors, and lots of her family didn't make it. But the point of this is not just a straightforward retelling of those events. She's talking about how you have the choice of the choice to not let the terrible things or painful experiences that happen to you overwhelm you. She describes it as being that when you become a victim, somebody's done something to you. You didn't choose those events, but you can choose to not let victim be a big part of your identity. I hope I'm explaining that well. Now, obviously, lots of people can relate to this, not this harrowing experience necessarily, but lots of people in life find it hard to be positive and move on from bad things. And I think this would inspire anyone to let maybe painful experiences galvanize them and drive them towards being positive. That's the way I see it, and I'm looking forward to reading it. I've read the first couple of chapters and I've listened to her in different interviews and stuff, but I haven't actually read the book yet, and I'm looking forward to that. The Sun Does Shine by Anthony Ray Hinton. This is about a guy who was on death row and for many years, and he was not guilty of the crimes that he was convicted of. He was charged with robbery and murder, sentenced to death. And it's about the injustice in the American legal system and how he came to overcome that and what he's doing now. And I love stories like that. I think I read about this in the paper, and again, this was quite a long time ago, was an Oprah's book club selection. She's just started her book club up on Instagram, actually, because she's no longer got a regular TV show. And yeah, I'm really looking forward to that. Okay. This is Oneness with All Life by Eckhart Tolle. So he wrote A New Earth and The Power of Now. And I just love the way he speaks. I love the way he writes. I like this, just his ideas and the way he presents them, about being truly present in the moment, which is really hard. I find really hard to do, and I'm constantly trying to refocus on doing that. He says, be aware of your breathing. Notice how this takes attention away from your thinking and creates space. So this is like a companion, I think, to some of his other volumes. So these are just, they're just small individual passages or quotes or little, almost like daily meditations. So I've read some of his other books, so this is something to maybe have around me to just keep me on track. And I think some people will find that easier than reading the whole thing, because especially The Power of Now, I felt like I read it one time and I just didn't engage with it, and I was resisting making those changes, and then I read it again and it opened up more for me, if that makes sense. Yeah, I really highly recommend this one. Again, I will list them all. Yeah. Gary Zukav, Soul Stories. So this is, again, kind of a follow-on from The Seat of the Soul, where, how do I explain this guy? So he is I'm trying to summarize The Seat of the Soul. What does he talk about? Like, what is your soul? What is your true purpose for being here? And he's got these ideas that I find very relatable about being connected to, I don't know, the universal God or a higher power, and aligning yourself with the authentic power coming from you, not like worldly power, but being very rooted and grounded in who you really are, and knowing what your purpose is, and that you can have a really authentic, really connected life. But these are kind of examples or stories of people who've gone through a journey. And yeah, I have read quite a few chapters of this, and I'm really enjoying it. I don't really know how to explain it. I think I will do a review of this when I've got through it. He basically talks about if you can harness your authentic power, which I'm finding it hard to tell you what he defines that as without going into a great long thing, that it can transform your life. It's about being who you really are and being truly honest in everything that you do, with yourself, with others. Trying to remove, ego and come from a place of humility. I'm just on a bit of a spiritual quest at the minute, and these kind of books really help me to focus on where I'm going. And then the last book of that kind is another Oprah book, and that is The Path Made Clear, Discovering Your Life's Direction and Purpose. So she pulls all this together. I found a lot of these authors through her. Like Gary Zukav, I found through watching her show in the afternoon when I used to get in from school or college many moons ago. And as a young person, I was desperately seeking enlightenment and truth and knowledge and wisdom or whatever, and I was like a sponge. And this guy Gary Zukav was on her show, and I got Seat of the Soul, or my mum already had it. I devoured that book, and because Oprah featured in her show and in her magazines and whatever, a lot of these, what she refers to as thought leaders, from Deepak Chopra to Eckhart Tolle, she brought those people to a massive audience. And I think that she's done us all a service, because there is real wisdom in there and real guidance on how to live a really fulfilled life. And it's an ongoing journey. You're never going to be 100% there, but if you're on the right track, then you're going to live more fully awake. But so she's kind of pulling together the stuff she's learned from all of these really amazing people and created her own philosophy on life based on the things she's learned through the work that she did when she had her show. Her main philosophy on life, she's two things that she always says, is that Newtonian law about what you put out, everything has an equal and opposite reaction. So what you put out comes back. If you put out good energy, bad energy comes back. And the thing is, we all say these anecdotes, but it's really good to break it down and think to yourself, like, what does that actually mean? So that is one of her principles that she always thinks about. What is the real intention behind every action that I'm doing? Is it really honourable? Is it selfless? Is it coming from a good place? Because it's going to come back to you. And she says here, your real job in life is to figure out as soon as possible what that is. What is your purpose? And if you can find that, then you need to go and honour that and get about the business of doing whatever that purpose is. So as someone who's never really hit a real groove in terms of a career, I never have, but I feel I've got a lot to offer. I've never had a strong calling to do one particular thing. I'm always just looking for ways to improve myself. So I'm really looking forward to reading this. And her books are always really, really beautiful photographs and stuff. There's one here. There's all different people. Again, it's one of those nice accessible books where there's just quotes and short paragraphs. But Mindy Kaling on here. As a woman who's an employee, often you are the only woman and you think there's not enough space for me. But now I'm an employer, you think if I could stop that anxiety for other young women and tell them that they're not going to be the only one, they won't need to have that anxiety anymore. Yeah, there's just loads of inspirational stuff in here. My life's goal is to be of service to a greater good. Wherever that true calling takes me, I've always been willing to go. Yeah, I love this sort of stuff. There you go. Fiction. This is a long video. Okay, Enigma Variations. I loved the book Call Me By Your Name, and then I was super excited when they made it into a film. The most amazing film I've seen in the last few years. Call Me By Your Name is a love story between two young men, and just the way the writing is beautiful, the film is beautiful, and I was just in that space of looking for more in that style. And so I heard about this. I read reviews of various Aciman books, and this one seemed the most accessible. What is it about? It's basically, it charts one man's path through the great loves of his life, from a youthful infatuation with a cabinet maker in a small Italian fishing village, a passionate affair with a woman in New York, to an obsession with a man he meets on a tennis court. The Enigma Variations charts one man's path through the great loves of his life. And it's about love and how we kind of love people, we let go of them maybe through fear. Are we on the right track? I don't know, it just called to me and I'm really looking forward to reading that. I'll let you know how we get on. This, I'm kind of slowly collecting these beautiful Penguin classics with the fabric binding, and I have a real soft spot for hardback books. I know that people tend to go for paperbacks or these what they call like softbacks that are like a kind of a hybrid between the two. And I know in terms of space, and also if you're sitting in bed and or if you're reading, sometimes a large paperback can be quite cumbersome. But I just, hardback, but there's just something so special about them. So this is Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, and I've just never read this, which I find unbelievable. And I decided I wanted something that was ghosty or scary for Halloween. So the week leading up to Halloween, I am going to read Frankenstein, and I'm very excited about that. Okay, this book I got because I really enjoyed The Couple Next Door. This is a writing duo. I don't know if they're together or they're just writing partners. Greer, Hendricks and Sarah Pekkanen. So this is the anonymous girl. As I said, The Couple Next Door is a kind of a thriller type thing, like a kind of girl on the train noir thing, which I really enjoyed. And this one is about like a medical trial or a medical study seeking women aged 18 to 32 to participate in a study on ethics and morality, generous compensation, anonymity guaranteed. So this girl signs up for a psychology study run by this mysterious doctor, and she kind of is led to believe that she just has to fill in some forms and maybe be interviewed. They'll pay her and she'll go. But as the questioning and the process gets more kind of demanding and intense, apparently, there's more control, and she starts to get really worried that this is taking over her whole life. And so there's an element of, is she paranoid or is it really happening? And I love stuff like that. So I'm looking forward to read this. An anonymous girl, she's lying to know the truth. Sally Rooney, Normal People. I got this because it's one of those books that it's just everywhere. You keep hearing people talk about it and you just like have to read it and see what the fuss is about. This is one of the most this is one of the books that sold the most copies in the UK like in recent months. So what is it actually about? It's about two people. It's won so many awards. Waterston's Book of the Year, the Costa Novel Prize, Irish Book of the Year. So it's about Connell and Marion. They grew up together in the west of Ireland. So they know each other when they're kids. They're very different, but they have a unique connection. And then things obviously are going to pull them apart and push them back together throughout their adult life. So some people have said that this is similar to that David Nichols, like One Day. I don't know, but I'm looking forward to getting into that. Oh, I'm putting off reading this because people keep telling me how harrowing it is, but how revelatory and amazing it is. So that it's like hard work, but you've got to read it. And that is The Nightingale by Kristen Hannah, an unforgettable portrait of love and war. So this is a story about being a woman through war and heartbreaking tale of like survival, love. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of tragedy. Set in France and the resistance. I'm nervous because people keep saying that it's a real gutter, so that means something terrible happens at the end or something, and I'm a bit nervous, but I'm going to read it. Okay, Margaret Atwood, The Testaments. So I read The Handmaid's Tale when I was at school, when I was about 16, or maybe a bit older when I was doing my A-level English, can't remember, but as a teenager. And I saw the film. There was a film with Natasha Richardson in it that was made and Faye Dunaway, probably like late 80s or early 90s. And then obviously now there is the TV show with, what's her name? Elizabeth? Can't think. But there's a TV show and it's amazing. But obviously the TV show is expanding a more complex narrative outside what happens in the original novel. And Margaret Atwood wanted to write she wanted to tell her vision of what happens next, as I understand it. And I'm very excited to start this. So if you are interested in this, you need to probably read the first one. So The Handmaid's Tale, this is a handmaid. They wear these veils so they can't see what's going on around. It's a dystopian world where sort of Christian far-right kind of fundamentalists have taken over the United States. The environment being so toxic has caused problems with food supply and fertility. So they have created this new society where you have women are very subjugated. So it's all run by men, and women are either wives, maids, or handmaids, and handmaids are there specifically because they're proven to be fertile. They've either had children before or whatever, and they have been found to do something wrong or immoral, so they are rounded up and they are assigned to male commanders and their wives because the wives are infertile, to have a baby. And it's this awful, brutal societal structure. And the first book follows one handmaid's journey over a period of time in this one household and what happens to her. And I'm not going to spoil it, but kind of cuts off. She leaves that house and that situation. And then I'm not sure if this is just a straight narrative carrying on her story, because I have tried to avoid too many reviews and things. But it just picks up where that left off, I think, and I'm really excited to read that one. Okay, and we're nearly there. So next, I got these for my husband because he's never been a major reader, but I would say that when I first met him and for the first few years we were together, he would dip in and out of books, and he would definitely have things that he would express an interest in, like sports biographies or autobiographies about football managers and that kind of stuff, or music figures. Like he's read books about Brian Wilson and Pete Townsend and stuff like that, and then he's just fallen out of love. I think he's very like me in a different way to me, very connected to the online kind of space. So when we're sitting in our living room watching TV at night, he will be browsing on the internet, but he doesn't read. He dips into things that are accessible. So last year I bought him Uncommon Type by Tom Hanks because it was a volume of short stories, and that is always my biggest recommendation. Well, I have two. If you are interested, if this has got your juices flowing, you're interested in books, most of these books, if not all of them, will be, I mean, not cooking books, but will be available on Audible, and you can listen. And then you can maybe get Kindle. And what I would do, if you wanted to read a novel and you have got out of the habit of reading, let's say you think, oh yeah, that sounds like a good story, I've heard about that TV show. You could get the original, Margaret Atwood's The Handmaid's Tale, and you could get it on Kindle or as a paperback, but I would suggest Kindle for this reason, and Audible. And then what you do is you listen on Audible because you're busy. You might be doing some ironing or cooking, and then you're going to get in the car and do the school run. So for about, a good hour and a half or 2 hours, you could get into that story. And if it's good narration, you will get a real feel for that because of the voice and the way that the narrator, if they're good, is setting up the tone. And then what will happen is when you open that book in Kindle, it will automatically take you to where you left off in the Audible. I mean, most people know this. I'm just saying in case you're not familiar with these apps. So that by a mixture of listening to the story and then reading the story, and you will have got over the hump of those first few, sometimes slow chapters, you will find that you've read a novel in like a fortnight, and you will feel great, I promise you. So my husband's not really an Audible person. He's a little bit of a podcast person. So again, it was our anniversary, and he always says, don't get me anything. So I'm like, oh, that's handy. So, and you can't really do flowers for boys. So I got him some chocolates and a shirt. But I wanted to get him something to read. And we saw Stephen Fry, or heard Stephen Fry talking about this on the radio, chat show or something. So this is Mythos. So this is Stephen Fry's retelling of the ancient Greek myths and Olympia and all that stuff. And it just, because he expressed an interest in it, I was like, yeah, I'm going to get that. And then there's a sequel, Heroes, Mortals and Monsters, Quests and Adventures. Here indeed be monsters, myriad adventures and machinating gods, delightful, rich and funny. And then, yeah, they've both got really good reviews. And apparently the stories get you, like when you're a little boy and you're reading adventure stuff. I thought that it would tap into that. So I'm hoping that that's a success. And last of all, I've found for guys that Stephen King novels and John Grisham novels are something that they can get hooked into within a chapter. So I now get really confused. We've got loads of John Grishams, but there's a bit of similarity in a lot of the stories now that he's written so many. And so if I go in there in my living room and I look at them, I can't tell you which ones I've read and which ones I haven't read. But I know that this is fairly new and neither of us read it. So I grabbed this. I thought it could be a good holiday read for my husband, or if he was ever ill off work and was stuck on the couch for a week, you could read this. So The Reckoning, What Turns a Good Man into a Killer. And Ken Follett says he is the best thriller writer alive, and he is. People go past John Grisham sometimes and think, nah, he's just because they are so mass appeal doesn't mean it's not good. So this is about somebody who is, on the face of it, a good man, farmer, a father, a faithful member of the Methodist Church, the patriarch of a prominent family, a returning war hero, Clanton, I guess that's in Mississippi, Clanton, Mississippi, I think it is, Clanton's favourite son. And he basically comes home and shoots someone, and they can't work out why on earth he did this murder. When he's asked why he did it, he says, I have nothing to say. what turned him from a pillar of the community into a cold-hearted killer. Everybody knows is it must be something devastating. So I can't wait to read that, actually. I'll probably get to it before he does. So those are the books. I'm now going to sit here while I'm uploading it and dutifully type out all the titles, because there were quite a few, and this was a half-an-hour video, but we did get through 18 books, so that's not even 2 minutes a book, so that's not bad. I hope that you enjoyed this. I kind of sometimes, I'm torn between wanting to talk about what is, you know, when we were talking about all these books about your true intention and your authentic journey and all of that stuff, that's what I'm trying to do. I've often felt like, what is the point of me having YouTube and Instagram? I'm not judging anyone else, but for me, I've said this many times, I love handbags. This is my handbag today, my Speedy B25. I just got it, I love it, right? And I'm happy to do videos talking about that stuff, but it's like a wheel, and that's just one slice of pie in my life. So if that is in my tiny little bit of public space, if that's all I talk about is makeup and handbags and accessories, I feel really empty, and it feels like it's a bit meaningless to me to just talk about those things. And I kind of feel like there are things that actually are more interesting to me, but often when I share those things, I get very few likes, very few views. So I think, am I ramming this stuff down people's throats? And they're not interested in that, because that's not why they found me. So it's a balance. So I'd love your feedback. There are a few people who are really loyal followers who are open to anything I put out because they just enjoy me talking or whatever. But, you know, there are also maybe many of you who are like, I'm not clicking on that. So I don't know. I need your feedback to know what you want me to do with this space. So, and I know I have a lot of new subscribers because I've suddenly just got like 500, 600 new subscribers in the last few weeks. And that's probably because I did my entire handbag collection, which I've been promising to do for like 2 years, and people really enjoyed that, even though it was a really long video. So go and check that one out if you haven't. You might have to do it in manageable chunks, but I'm really into all sorts of things, and books and reading and stories and film and all of that is a big thing for me. So I'm just trying to give a more well-rounded output based on my interests, and hope that you are sometimes interested in the same things as me. But I need your guidance on what you want to see, because I find it quite hard sometimes to find the time to do this. So I want it to be worthwhile. If I'm going to invest the time to do it, then I don't want to do it unless people are going to actually watch it and enjoy it. So there you have it. I hope you enjoyed. As I said, I'll link everything down below. Please like, and please hit the bell, because so many of my close friends through social media, my handbag collection video did not come up on their feeds, even though they're subscribed to me. So I sent out a massive Instagram thing tagging everybody, and they were like, oh my God, I didn't know that was up. So if you like this video or any of my recent videos, please hit the bell, so at least then you'll know when I upload something new. See you later, guys. Bye.